Okay, so this is really fun. When you play a song in 3/4 time or 6/8, however you want to feel this groove, it's written out in different ways in different books, different fake books. But however you feel this, the most important thing is to really, really lock in with the bass player and drummer. I can't stress that enough. So if you're hearing. So I was playing the basic, one of the basic rhythm vamps at first for the G7 is G7, A minor 7, B flat 7. Some people do this. But I like having the little bit of edge there, that little A flat in there on that chord rather than just this harmony. So that's a very common thing. You could play the same thing. I didn't actually do that because to me it's become a little bit sort of stale. It's it's kind of a cliche. So I tried to do something different. But first start with the basic. So now notice. You see how I'm sliding up to the chord? That gives a nice, real kind of I don't know, just a nice kind of expressive, kind of loose kind of feel to it instead of going. I mean, hopefully you wouldn't play that. That's just sort of very blah and very bland. So you wanna try to again get into the. It's a real loping kind of bass line. So that's a really cool thing to do. So work on approaching the chord from a half step below, sliding into the groove. There, there's 4 to the bar, whether I'm counting 4 beats or 3 beats or 19 beats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And this is, by the way, this is still a variation on the Charleston. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2. Because I'm still accenting 1 in the end of 2. So I'm still using those basic grooves that I have gone over, the Charleston and the 4 to the bar, and I've gone over that in different lessons. So that's still happening, even though we're in 3/4 or a 6/8, 6/8 time feel. So, another thing I did at one point was I had some double stops. It was very simple. They're just doing harmony. Okay, over the G7. So we have, there's G. See if I do the thirds above. So I put the third, instead of on top, I put it below. So that's a nice thing to add. Then I started to, at one point, I did a, even though the song only really has 4 chords in it, what I did was I put a substitution chord in at one point. So instead of going and then back to G, so instead of going D7 sharp 9, E flat 7 sharp 9, D7 sharp 9, which is the written changes, I went D, E flat, F, G, and I played them all sharp 9 chords. And the reason that the F works is because it's moving up to the G, so it's going home, as we say. So it's not what's written, but it does work because the F is on the way to the G. So, it would be this, if you were a bass player. So that's kind of a cool effect to have. And then I was using, I was doing some voice leading, which is another great technique. So at one point. So there I'm just around a G9 chord, right? G9. Not putting the bass in because the bass player is doing that. So I can choose to play either a single line with that chord or just put in parts of the chords, maybe a little less busy. just continual rhythm. Da 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 da. There's a cool rhythm with voice leading. C instead of a C7, C9, C flat 9, C7. And that's just a really... And if I want to... Generally, when we're comping, when we're soloing, we can repeat the line 2 times, but, the same basic phrase, but by the 3rd time, we do a slight variation. So if we had... So I did that, but I didn't do it then a 3rd time. Instead, I did... So something like that would work, so that you're doing like a call and response with your own rhythm that you've just played and with your own voice leading. Another thing that I did at one point, which is really good to do, is just move up. There I was showing from the G9 here. I was moving down from that one chord, but you can also move your chords up. G7, G9, G7, G sus, G9. I keep going. G13, G7, G9, and then back to G. And of course, you could do the same thing with C. But there, you come back here. So, anything that you work out in one key, if you work out some cool chordal voicings, move it through your different key areas. And that's where you're going to get some real cool stuff. See, there I moved it all the way. I moved voice leading, and then I ended up on the 4 chord all the way here, the C9. But that's the same as the G9. So it's the same voicing because they're both dominant chords. So again, when you learn something in one key, you practice it in another key. That's the same thing an octave lower.